I am here to introduce to you Dr. Jerry Gule. Dr. Jerry Gule is the CEO of the Institute of People Management. Jerry was General Manager of Marketing Services Competency Centers, an in-house consulting unit of Total Energies. He also was General Manager for HR and Transformation at Total Energies. In 2016, Jerry founded Gule Executive Coaching Limited, a coaching business. GEC has served in South Africa, Malawi, Eswatini, and Equatorial Guinea, and China. Jerry is involved in the community and is chairperson of a board in an NGO that is into early childhood education and education of vulnerable children. He is also committed to gender mainstreaming and disability inclusion in the workplace. Right, and the talk title for Dr. Jerry Gule today is Building a Culture That Listens to All the Voices in Your Organization. So, Dr. Jerry, if you're ready, I would like to hand over for you to start your presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for a great introduction. I appreciate that very much. Yes, good. Wherever you are, greetings. I know that this is a 24-hour Inspirathon, and I am so excited to be part of this, coming to you from the southern point of Africa. Yeah, very, very exciting. I mean, who would have thought that you can actually create an inspiring workplace? I've been in employment for most of my life. And I've enjoyed every minute of what I do. Yes, there's been moments where things have not gone the way I want. And of course, you feel disappointed. But here's what is key. What I want to talk about today. I mean, did you know that 75% of employees, generally speaking, particularly in the northern in the northern hemisphere, felt that their bosses were a source of stress? This is before the pandemic. I don't know what the stats would be today. This is a study done by McKinsey that people were feeling that as bosses we cause the stress. And of course, it should never be like that. We should be the people that inspire, particularly because we hire, right? We bring people into the organization, and we don't bring them to stress them. We bring them on board so that they can be inspired to bring their very best forward to our organization so that our organizations can perform. Here is the thing. Only 10% of bosses have the natural ability to be good bosses. The rest of us, we actually don't have. Again, this is a study by Gallup that shows that it's not easy to be a boss, to be a good boss, because there are pressures from everywhere. And that's why maybe sometimes we then forget why you are there, what we're supposed to be doing. And therefore, this Inspirathon is actually to learn from others that it can be done. I want to focus on this simple thing, listening. We have 2 ears, 1 mouth. Therefore, as people have said before, we ought to be listening more. But sometimes the pressure causes us not to actually do that. I have 2 quotes for you to start with. The biggest communication problem is we do not listen to understand, we listen to reply. And of course, that's a disaster. That's not going to inspire anybody. If we just listen to reply, to respond to what is being said, instead of listening to understand, and therefore to come back with clarity. Someone else says, one of the most sincere forms of respect is to actually listen to what others have to say. I think that's inspiring for me, because if you do that, respect is all of us crave to be respected. It's just a human need to be respected. If you feel disrespected, you're not going to respond kindly. But in the workplace, sometimes this is what we find. We find leaders do this, and we've got to lead differently, particularly given what we have learned. Our humanity must come forth. And respect, most organizations would have a value in one shape or the other called respect. Um, and what's key is, how does that get demonstrated on a daily basis? What does it mean to respect? Because we all crave this thing called respect. We all, we have some form of the golden rule, that do unto others as you would like it to be done to you. And respect is something that we expect of others. But what do we hear? What do we find? Yeah, we find people raising their voices saying, no, 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 listen to me, pointing their fingers, which of course is microaggression. Swearing, and again, a form of microaggression, which indicates that we're really not listening to others. How can we change this? How can we build a culture where all the voices in our organization, all the people that we've brought into our organization to be productive, to live their best life, their purpose? Because remember, if people spend their time in our organization working, or whatever they are in the community, but doing some productive stuff, they need to be inspired. Creativity comes because the environment allows. Critical. I mean, we know that the skills required today, we always said the skills will be required in the future. They're required now to be creative and to be innovative. You need to build a culture. You need to build a climate that enables people to be inspired. So, simply put, we all know the main points that I want to make is that culture is what we do. So if you are going to create a culture of listening, you have to do listening. Yeah, you have to listen to what others have to say. That's the one thing. The second thing is that intentionality is key in building a different culture. If the culture that we have today is not giving us the inspiration that we require, we've got to be intentional. How are we going to change this? We've got to put together practical things that we can do, and I want to talk to you about that. And of course, thirdly, we have to enable leaders to be able to listen. There are many sayings: the fish rots from the top. Leaders demonstrate, live the values of the organization. If it doesn't happen at the top, it won't happen anywhere else in the organization. We've got to walk the talk. And so we need to enable our leaders to be able to listen. What we want to see them do, we've got to give them the tools. There's so much going on that they have to do. So let's give them the simple tools, and I'll just talk to you later about what is one of those simple tools, for instance, in a one-on-one meeting. What can a leader, what can a manager do to ensure that he inspires that on a daily basis the people that work for them? So, first thing is this: if you want inspiration, if you want people to live their purpose and to really value, to come, I always say, well, come to the workplace feeling like they bumping on the soles of their feet because they're happy to be there, not dragging themselves. I'm going to that place again. And it is the leaders that can create an environment that does that. Ask the people, ask your own teams, what is happening? What can I do? What impedes performance in our organization? The answers lie there. I always remind people, or my audiences, that remember this: the people that work in your organization, in your community, whatever you do, those are adults. They can think, they do things for themselves, they have the answers. The answer is, in fact, is within. As a coach, we know that all you do is to enable. People have the answer. So ask the people if there's a problem, or even if there is not a problem, how can we improve this? How can we do better? What tools do we need to ensure that you can actually deliver what you have set yourself up to deliver? There are usually just a couple of things that impede progress. Do we have the tool of trade that we require to do this? What are the processes that are the processes working for us? And the people who work with the process on a daily basis, they know where the glitches are. Ask them for solutions. And of course, the bureaucracy sometimes that we throw into this. Best performing teams and organizations, you devolve the decision making to the lowest point, and you listen to those people in terms of what is it that we require to actually be an organization that does better, and to be to be a team that listening is so vital in everything that we do. Otherwise, we go at a tangent. We frustrate each other. So critical that we listen to what is being said, and that people will give you the answers. You don't even need big consulting firms to come in. The solutions lie right there. But sometimes we don't hear the people. Create a culture where you can hear what your people have to say. The second thing around this is that you co-create the solutions with the people. Again, co-creation calls for listening, right? You cannot co-create if you are listening to the parties that are part of your team, that you are going, the others that you're going to be co-creating with. Co-creation can come from, it means this: we're all here to serve others, not to serve ourselves, right? So you have to listen to the people that you work with you. You have to listen to the people that you serve. Dave Urich talks about from outside in, not just always from inside out, from outside in. What are our customers or the people in our ecosystems, even your competition? What are they telling us? That's a culture of listening. What do we hear from the external environment, from the internal environment, as well as from the external, and then co-create a solution? Sometimes even inviting your customers to influence the policies that you have, because those are the people that you serve, your citizens. If you're in the public service and service in communities, listen to others and respond correctly. Co-create the solutions. That's what we need in our world today. In order to co-create, listen, right? Listening sometimes can be very difficult. Say this from experience, because you want to come back and interject, and we have this assumption that we have all the answers. The period that we've just gone through, and what some parts of the world are still going through with this pandemic, we know that we do not all have the answers. The answers are everywhere. We need to be listening to where the answers come from. Thirdly, dispense ownership of resolving these problems. It's not always at the top that the ownership should be. Dispense the ownership to the right levels in the organizations for implementations of the solutions. In my work life, one of the things that we've used effectively is task teams or work teams, and you give them the authority. You listen to the solutions that people are bringing in. You listen to what they have to say, and you give them the responsibility to do that. That inspires. They trust me with this to do this, or they trust us. If bosses do that, trust is vital, because when people know that to trust them, they go the extra mile, one, to do stuff for you, to try and do it well, and you hear their innermost thoughts, what they think, because they know that you are a person to be trusted. Let's create a culture of listening, and that will enable us to be trusted leaders as an organization. I also want to say that we need to define the behaviors that we want to see in this, if we're going to create an inspiring workplace, an inspiring culture. We need to then define, how do we behave when we're here? I said earlier, culture is what we do, how we behave. We cannot explain ourselves always and then create we can behave ourselves to the best culture that we want. The things that we put on our walls, the values, we leave those things out, we action. So we want to define the behaviors that we want to see. And if those behaviors are not being exhibited, then we hold each other accountable, right? We've got to hold it as accountable. And in fact, you have to hold yourself individually accountable. How is my behavior? And how do I do that? For instance, as an example, is what I call a personal board. Have someone that will help you, will inspire you, will give you, you'll be accountable to, so that they can always be giving you feedback in terms of how we are doing. Let me then now end with this. One of the tools that you can use as a line manager to build this thing that we call a culture that inspires your workplace. When you meet with your teams, for me, a leader who wants to create this, there are only 3 questions that to ask when you meet your people, be it on one-on-one in a group, because yours is to enable people. So you ask, what is working? That would be your first tool that you use. What's working? Secondly, What is not working? You ask the people, what is impeding your way? Thirdly, how can I help you to deliver what you need to deliver? How can I support you to be able to do? If as leaders we do that, we start creating, because when you ask those questions, you are forced to actually listen, not just to reply, but train yourself to listen to what the feedback is from your team member or from the people that you work with. And that is what we need to create. Can you imagine if we gave ourselves, we say, this is my job. My job here is to enable. Therefore, I'm going to listen to what is being said, and I'm going to try and provide the solutions. And you know that the solutions will not always come from you. As I've said, you co-create solutions with other people. But again, intentionality is key if we are going to do this. How do you show up as a leader, as a manager? Do you show up as someone who's coming to inspire, or do you show up as someone who's going to be, it's going to be my way? If we have this mentality of my way or the highway, then you are not going to inspire anyone. It's critical that we, in order for us to create a culture, build a culture of listening, we just train ourselves to ask the questions and to listen to the answers that are being given, and to be totally present all the time as we listen, to be mindful of what is being said. And if we don't have the answers, you don't have to have all the answers. You say, I don't know. You can actually ask the person asking you the questions, can you find out from others how we can actually deal with this situation? Because leaders don't have all the answers, particularly in a complex world that we live in today. You know, we used to talk about VUCA. Today we're talking about VUCA, but what it means now is velocity. This is what someone has said. It's agility, speed. This is what we require. It also means that we have to do things almost in an orthodox way, because that's how we are going to build the progress. And the C in the VUCA is now co-creation, working with other people to bring solutions. And when you ask people to give you those solutions, I can tell you now, people will give their lives for you because you trust them. You don't treat them as non-entities, as people who cannot think, but you trust them, and that inspires them. And therefore, that leads to the A in the VUCA, which is now awesomeness, not ambiguity, awesomeness, because you are working together to build something new, and you trust people, and you are not afraid to say, I actually don't have an answer to that. Can you find the answer and come tell us as a group, as a team, how we can do this? On this African continent, we have the word Ubuntu. I am because you are. And that talks about respecting the other person, because they are worth respecting. They are worth listening to. So you behave yourself to practicing this, that I am. It's not just my way. It's our way as a collective that is going to make our organization awesome, inspirational, wherever we are, and knowing that, of course, we now work remotely, but you are connected. I am because you are. And keeping that in mind as a leader is going to take us where we need to be in our organizations and our teams. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what I wanted to share, that we can all create an inspiring workplace by exercising just listening to others and engaging with them. And sometimes calling for a pause if people are not listening, calling for silence, not just the noise all the time, calling for silence so that we can hear what exactly is going on. Bringing people who may not be heard, bringing them to the fore so that they are listened to. All the voices in our organization being heard. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoy the Inspirathon.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jerry. So lovely to see you, and stay safe in South Africa. Thank you for being here with us today. Take care.
Thank you. You're
Thank
welcome.
you. See you.